My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome back to another chapter of the Jeshua channelings. For those of you following along with me, I am on page 225, the title Relationships in the New Era. Now, if you have found this for the first time, I have recorded the entire book. I'm in the last few chapters now, and you can go to the channel and find it in its own playlist. Um, and hope that you enjoy it. And so we'll just begin. Relationships in the new era. Dear friends, with much joy and happiness, I am with you today. My energy flows among you, and as you can feel, this is not a lecture in the traditional sense. I am passing on a certain energy in addition to information, and you are as much a part of this as I and Pamela and Garrett. In our being together here, we create a field or vortex of energy in this room, in this opening to the earth. And I want to pause here and say that while I've never been to any kind of anything that this describes, that not to this, but I have been in company of others whom I've uh, felt something, and we came to know here that we actually opened very much the very same thing he's describing here. That happened in 2016, late 2016. I had no words for it at that time because I didn't quite understand what it was that we had done. No one was planning on that. It really just sort of happened, and I feel like this is what is being described here. So I'm going to read that again. I am passing on a certain energy in addition to information, and you are as much a part of this as I and Pamela and Garrett. In our being together here, we create a field or vortex of energy in this room, in this opening to earth. Therefore, this place is sacred. At any place where people, angels in human bodies, come together and join with the intention of seeding their light into earth, the ground becomes sacred. And I do feel that I've had reports of others, folks that have become friends over the years of the many channels, the three channels, now four channels I've been involved in. When folks come to visit, um, there's it's a palpable feel here. Part of that is that energy vortex. Part of that is that we've been constantly here, living here at this property. And so it has grown. That vortex has grown and strengthened. It is the way it feels to me. And others who don't even have a clue as to what we've done or what we think um, tend to feel very comfortable here, like it here, like coming here to spend time. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a noticing that I've had, another puzzle piece that I've collected. I would like to briefly say something about the phenomenon of channeling, which has become so popular recently. You all know the concept of prana, which is employed in yoga and Eastern philosophy. Prana is a spiritual energy that you take in with every breath. The idea is that you do not merely inhale oxygen when breathing in, but also a life force energy, a cosmic energy which exceeds the physical and enables you to live. Now, what I'd like to point out is this. Just as everyone inhales prana along with oxygen in breathing, everyone channels continuously in his or her own way. This again was a very validating piece of information for me. I have said that we each are channeling portions of ourselves. We exist in many realms at once. This is the only realm that time actually exists in order to give this incarnation the experiences of a consecutive linear experience. It's as though we all agreed to slow the timing down, which is also why manifestation materialization takes some time, right? Which is also something that as beings we're not used to, right? So I found this very interesting. Channeling is not reserved to a few people with a special gift. Channeling is the most natural thing in the world. You see, you cannot live without cosmic energy. You cannot exist, live, and thrive without taking in cosmic energy. Just as you cannot live from oxygen alone, you cannot function even in a basic manner without some connection to the cosmic source that is your home. Earth and cosmos, oxygen and prana, both are necessary to manifest yourself completely as a human being in Earth reality. In the previous channeling, I've called you the gatekeepers, the ones who open the gate to more light on earth. But you are also the bridge builders, the ones who mediate between the cosmic and the earth realm, the ones who channel cosmic energy to earth. This is something you actually do, and it is something you need to do in order to feel joyful, purposeful, and healthy. Well, that's kind of interesting because once I started my quest for the truth of who I am, literally, I started age regressing. I'm 63, okay? Trust me when I say to you that it has been quite the journey, and this just feels so true to me. You are channeling whenever you use your intuition, whenever you go deep within and sense how things are for you and how you would like to change them. At these moments, you form a channel with your higher self and you connect to your goals here on earth. Every one of you channels in some way to realign yourself with your greater being that is outside of space and time. Today, we share our energies and join to channel a cosmic energy which is trying to find its way to Earth in this new era. The new era is no longer a vision of the future. It is already manifesting itself in the daily life of innumerable individuals. Now, remember, the newest that this channeling could be is 2006 because this portion of the book are the public channelings from 2003 to 2006. And I feel like that number here has absolutely grown. If you read the paper or watch the news, it may seem that the time is not ripe yet. But the awakening brought forward by the new era starts at the level of the individual, not at the level of governments, institutions, and organizations. As a matter of fact, those are the last to come online. People within them individually will have our awakening, and we've seen that, right? It is in your own everyday existence that a new flow of energy presents itself. It is the flow of your heart that invites you and beckons you to live and to act according to its lightness and wisdom. This is how the birthing of the new era takes place, by ordinary individuals being attentive to the whispers of their heart. Spiritually, the foundation of any real change or transformation is always laid on the individual level. The energy which is awakened in your hearts will gradually find its way through institutions and organizations which still hold on to the old paradigm of ego-based consciousness. And I really feel like that is so visible now here in 2024. I mean, that's fully 12 years from when this could have been channeled in 2006, if it was in 2006. Old bulwarks of power will break down not by violence, but by the tender energy of the heart. If the heart takes over the lead, the old will collapse, not under the pressure of power and violence, but under the pressure of love. I really do feel like that has been seen in many quarters. There's been a lot on YouTube about, I went to this rally on the left and I was treated this way, and I went to this rally on the right and I was treated this way. And a lot of people expected to be treated poorly, and they weren't. And so that's again another puzzle piece that seems to be validated here. In this new era, relationships undergo a major transformation. Relationships are the source of the deepest emotions within you, reaching from great joy to deep agony. In relationships, you may become aware of an inner pain that is essentially much older than the relationship itself, even older than your human existence. In this age, you are invited and often challenged to achieve a deep self-healing in the field of relationships. Because of the new energy now presenting itself, it is possible to transform the destructive elements of a relationship into a positive, equal flow of energy between you and the other person. However, healing and personal transformation may also mean that you let go of relationships in which you cannot properly express yourself. It frequently means that even if you love someone dearly, you may have to say goodbye because your own inner path takes you to a different place. And this is what happened for me. 28 and a half year marriage, I was going the way of the internal, getting to know the truth of who I am, and that requires resolving old traumas from childhood and other things. That kind of work can only be done by the individual that is desirous of it. My partner was not desirous of that, didn't feel that it affected his daily day-to-day life, and I clearly could see that it was affecting both of us, as was mine. And so, we can't force another to want to be different or to see, sense, or feel things differently. I personally feel like we all come here with an idea of what we would like to experience as we move through life. And so we parted very amicably, and I actually quite adore him still. And that would never change, It's just that why be angry because I want to experience all of me at this juncture, and he doesn't understand that. So there's no sense in bullying or anything like that, trying to force somebody. I'll have no hostages on my quest journey. That's not fun or joyful or interesting to me, right? So it could end up that you may have to say goodbye because your own inner path takes you to a different place. Whether it leads to renewal or to parting in a relationship, you are all challenged to face the deepest issues in this area of personal bonding. The call of the heart based energy which marks the new era, has entered your daily lives and you cannot ignore it anymore. That was the truth for me. To explain why relationships can hurt you so much and turn your life completely upside down, I would like to say something about an ancient pain you carry within your soul. It is a pain which is very old, much older than this lifetime, older even than all your former lives on earth. I want to take you back to your original birthing pain as a soul. Once upon a time, all was whole and undivided. Can you imagine this? Allow your imagination to travel freely for a moment. Just imagine you are not in a body. You are pure consciousness and you are part of a huge energy field that surrounds you in a comfortable way. I actually experienced this in a regression once. I wasn't quite sure what it was I was experiencing, and I was kind of freaked out because everybody else seemed to have a story. They could see their feet, they could describe their surroundings, they could like one female felt like she was male, all of these things. And it's my turn. And what I get is I'm floating in nothingness. Like all I can see, sense, and feel is warmth, love, beautiful colors swirling. I have no sense of my body. I have no sense of, and I feel like this is what I was describing, what I was feeling in that, right? You feel that you are part of this unity and are being cherished without conditions. That was true. Feel how this energy field encloses you as an immensely comfortable blanket, as an abundantly loving energy which allows you to explore and develop freely without ever doubting yourself or your intrinsic right to be who you are. No anxiety, no fear. This sense of comfort and security constituted the pre-birthing conditions from which you emerged as an individual soul. It was a cosmic womb, B, W-O-M-B. Even if it is far removed from your present state, your heart still aches for this sense of completeness and wholeness, the feeling of absolute safety you experienced in that blanket of love and benevolence. The sense of oneness you remember was God. Together in this blanket of love, you constituted God. Within this divine consciousness or blanket of love, it was decided at some point to create a new situation. It is very difficult to put into human words, but perhaps you can imagine that in God, this unity awareness, there was a longing for something different, something other than unity. There was, so to speak, a longing for experience. When you are completely assimilated into a wholeness of pure being, you do not experience things. You simply are. In a state of the ecstasy and the total safety, in the state of this being, there was a part of God, a part of cosmic awareness that wanted to explore and to evolve. This part, quote, departed from itself. Um, I've heard others describe this as the point could be considered the Big Bang, but the point when divinity, the one, um, made the statement, I am, but then the question came back, am I? Am I? I don't know because I'm in here. And that was the impetus of the exploration. You are this part of God. At a certain point, your consciousness agreed to this experiment of departing from unity and becoming an I, an entity in itself, a defined individual awareness. This was a huge step from the bottom of your being. You felt that this was a good thing. You felt that the longing for creativity and renewal was a positive and valuable aspiration. However, the moment that you actually departed from the field of oneness, there was pain. For the first time in your recollection, for the first time in your life, there was deep pain. You were torn loose from a realm of love and safety, which had been completely self-evident to you. This is the birthing pain I referred to. Even during this first intense experience of desolation, something in your innermost being told you that it was all right, that this was your own choice. But the pain was so deep that at the outer layers of your being, you got confused and disoriented. Now, by the time this is actually released, I am going to find it and record it. There is something that was channeled by a being called Damu, I believe. Zingdad actually channeled these words, and I have shared it before, and I'm going to re-record it for this channel. It's called the Starseed Contract, and I feel like it relates to this right here. There's a part there where it talks about the starseed agreed to be shattered. And boy, the pain was so deep that at the outer layers of your being, you got confused and disoriented. It became quite difficult to keep in touch with the deeper knowledge inside, the inner level at which you are God, and where you know that all is well. The tormented part that arose at that time, I call the inner child. Your soul, your unique individuality carries within itself the extremes of a pure divine knowledge on the one hand and a traumatized cosmic child on the other. This unity of God and child, of knowledge and experience, started off on a long journey. You started off as an individual soul. You started to investigate and experience what it is like to be an I, a defined individual. God had transformed a part of God's self into soul. The soul needs experience to find again its divine origins. The soul needs to be alive, to experience, to discover, to self-destruct, and to recreate in order to feel who the soul truly is, namely God. The self-evidence of being one and whole had been shattered and had to be regained by experience. This in itself was a great feat of creativity. The birthing of I consciousness was a miracle. It had never existed before. Often you try to transcend the boundaries of your I-ness in order to experience oneness and deep unity again. You might say that is the very aim of your spiritual quest, but consider for a moment from God's point of view, it is the I-ness, the separateness, that constitutes the miracle. The state of being one was the normal situation. Quote, how it had always been. Within the miracle of being an individual soul lies an immense beauty, joy, and creative power. The reason that you do not experience it like that is that you are still struggling with your birthing pain as a soul. Somewhere deep inside you, the primal scream of anguish and betrayal still resounds. It is the recollection of being torn apart from your mother/father from the omnipresent blanket of love and safety. I've said for some time, because there's a lot of folks that say we're going back to oneness. We've never left oneness. We are still in oneness. The whole name of this game, I just feel it with all of me, is to realize that we are still one and separate, a whole brand new portion of the divinity, experiencing the creation. To me, that is so much more exciting to feel into and to be moving into the fact that we create as we move, but we don't do it consciously. Now we can begin to, once all the programming and conditioning and all the beliefs of, the fallacy about who we are and what we are capable of is washed from this vessel. The least among you can do these things I do and more, is the quote from the Christ energy in the Bible for all to hear and see and read and know. So, on your journey through time and experience, you have gone through so many things. You have tried all different kinds of forms. There were quite a lot of incarnations in which you did not have the form of the human body, but that is not so relevant now. What matters to me in this context is that throughout this very long history, you were guided by two different motives. On the one hand, there was the zest for exploration, creation, and renewal, and on the other hand, there was the homesickness, the sense of being cast out of paradise, and an overpowering loneliness. And, that's in all the stories, right? All the stories, in one way or another, metaphorically. By the adventurous, progressive part in yourself, the energy which pushed you out of the cosmic womb, you have experienced and created a lot. But due to the birthing pain and homesickness you carried within, you also had to deal with a lot of trauma and disillusion. Your creations were therefore not always benevolent. During your journeys through time and space, you have done things you have regretted later on. Things you might call, quote, bad, in quotation marks. These actions were, from our perspective, merely the result of the determination to plunge into experience and venture into the unknown. You see, as soon as you decide to become an individual, to break away from the self-evident oneness, you cannot experience light only. You have to find out everything anew. So you will also experience the dark. You will experience all there is up to all the extremes. At your present point of evolution, you come to realize that everything stands or falls with the power to truly embrace your quote, I-ness. It is about truly embracing your own divinity. And from that self awareness, experiencing joy and abundance in the moment of your cosmic birth, the moment that desolation and pain envelop you, you started to feel tiny and insignificant. From that moment on, you started to look for something that could save you, a power or a force outside of you, a god, a leader, a partner, a child, etc. In the awakening process that you are now experiencing, you realize that the essential safety you are longing for is not to be found in anything outside of you. Whether it is a parent, a lover, or a god, however strongly this longing or homesickness may be triggered in a particular relationship, you will not find this essential safety there, not even in a relationship with God. For the God you believe in, the God who has been handed down to you by tradition and who still heavily influences your perception, is a God outside of you. It is a God who outlines things for you, who lays out the way for you. But that God does not exist. You are God. You are that creative part of God who decided to go its own way and to experience things in a wholly different way. And I don't know why this is coming in right now, but it is, so I'm just going to go with it. We see that now where there's the whole reason that folks believe this is because they've been told by an outside source that they believe in. That is why I feel every bit of this. Boy, there's been so many things that have been said by authorities. And I just willy-nilly took on behind, because you know better than me. Only to find out that no, actually, no, they don't know better than me what is for me. And that is exactly what this is talking about here. You had the confidence that you would be able to heal yourself from primal wound of birth. You could say that the expansive energy of exploration and renewal is a male energy, whereas the energy of unification, joining together, the energy of home, is a female energy. Both these energies belong to the essence of who you are. As a soul, you are neither male nor female. Essentially, you are both male and female. You started your journey with both these ingredients, and now the time has come to let them work together in harmony, which means to truly experience wholeness in yourself. After having denied your own greatness for such a long time, you will start to realize finally that there is no alternative but to be the God you are longing for. So true. And I'd like to take a moment here and say that a friend of mine wrote a book called The Imposter. It's available on Amazon. Her name is Sophia Love. It was one of the best channeled works that I've ever read. And again, a lot of validations. And I really feel like that one goes hand in hand with this one in a very huge way. Each being that brings these things, who feel to bring these types of things through them. uh of course, take all of that with your own personal discernment, but they are puzzle pieces for me, that I see them as puzzle pieces to help me get a full picture of me through, because the universe speaks, right? To me anyway. That's what I recognize. This is the ultimate breakthrough to enlightenment. To realize that you yourself are the God that you are craving. There is nothing outside of you that can bring you into the heart of your own power, your own wholeness. You are it. You are the one, and you always have been the one. You have always been waiting for you. To light this flame of self awareness within brings such joy, such a deep sense of homecoming, that it puts all of your relationships into a new perspective. For example, you feel less concerned about the things that other people tell you. Good God, yes. If someone criticizes or distrusts you, you do not automatically take it personally. Nope. You feel less affected or eager to react. You let it go more easily, and the need to defend yourself both to yourself and to the other person drops away. When you are easily affected emotionally by what another person thinks of you, this indicates that inwardly there is a self-contempt that makes you give credit to the negative opinions of others. You do not solve this self-contempt by seeking out a conflict with the other, but only by going inward and getting in touch with the emotional wounds within yourself. These are much older than this specific moment of rejection. We are a cumulative, a compilation, if you will, of all of our experiences, aka unresolved traumas, mostly revolving around the conditioning and programming that everyone has received, which may or may not be relevant, be true, be, even, I don't know, there's just so much, right, that we've bought into as beings, right? In fact, all pain of rejection, all relationship pain goes back to the original unhealed birthing pain. It may seem as if I'm taking a huge step here, for there are all kinds of complex situations in relationships which seem to indicate that the cause lies closer. It may seem as if your pain is caused by something your partner has done or not done. It may seem as if something outside of you causes the pain, and therefore you think that the solution to your problem lies in the behavior of the other. But let me tell you, fundamentally, you are working on healing an ancient pain within yourself. If you are not aware of this, you may easily get entangled in relationship issues that can be extremely painful. And I can attest to that, right? Especially in male-female relationships or love relationships. You frequently try to forge a kind of unity and safety between you that resembles the primeval state of oneness that you vaguely remember. Subconsciously, you are trying to recreate the feeling of being comfortably wrapped in a blanket of unconditional love and acceptance. There is a child within you who is crying out for that unconditional acceptance. However, if this child in you puts his or her arms around the child part in your partner, Too often, it results in a suffocating grasp that blocks both partners from genuine self expression. What happens is that you become emotionally dependent, and then you are going to need the love or approval of the other person for your well being. Dependence always calls into being power and control issues. For to need someone is equal to wanting to control his or her behavior. This is the beginning of a destructive relationship. To give up your individuality in a beginning of a destructive relation. No, no, no. Sorry. To give up your individuality in a relationship guided by a subconscious longing for absolute unity is destructive towards yourself as well as the other person, towards the other person. True love between two people shows two energy fields that can function in complete independence from each other. Each energy field is a unity unto itself and connects to the other on the basis of that unity. In relationships in which partners are dependent upon each other, you will find an uncoordinated striving for organic wholeness, not wanting or being able to function without the other. This leads to an entanglement of energies which can be observed in the auric fields as energy cords by which the partners feed each other. They feed themselves with the addictive energies of dependence and control. And I do feel like that's a very true statement. I've been married 3 times. The last one was 28 and a half years. And I have to say, it was a very codependent relationship, very codependent. This kind of energy entanglement indicates that you do not take responsibility for yourself, that you do not face up to the old soul wound that only you can heal. If only you would address this deepest pain and take responsibility, you would see that you do not ever need someone else to be whole. And you will liberate yourself from the destructive aspect of the relationship. Karmic relations. In this context, I would like to say something about karmic relationships. By this, I mean relationships between people who have known each other in lifetimes, in other lifetimes, and who have experienced intense emotions with regard to each other. The hallmark of a karmic relationship is that the partners carry unresolved emotions within, such as guilt, fear, dependence, jealousy, anger, or something of the kind. Because of this unresolved emotional charge, they feel drawn to each other in another incarnation. The aim of the renewed encounter is to provide an opportunity to resolve the issue at hand. This happens by recreating the same issue in a short period of time. When they first meet, the karmic, quote, players feel a compelling urge to get nearer to each other. And after some time, they start to repeat their old emotional role patterns. The stage has now been set to face the old issue anew and perhaps handle it in a more enlightened way. The spiritual purpose of the renewed encounter is for both partners to make other choices than they made during that former lifetime. My coffee's getting cold. Bear with me just a moment. I'm going to give an example here. Imagine a woman who in a previous lifetime had a husband who was quite possessive, and bossy. For a while, she accepted this, but at a certain point, she decided it was enough and she broke off the relationship. Afterwards, the husband committed suicide. The woman felt remorse. She believed that she was guilty. Shouldn't she have given him another chance? She carried this sense of guilt with her for the rest of her life. In another lifetime, they meet. There is an odd attraction between them. At first, the man is exceptionally charming, and she is the center of his attention. He adores her. They enter into a relationship. But from now on, he becomes increasingly jealous and possessive. He suspects her of adultery. She finds herself in an inner struggle. She is angry and upset that he wrongly accuses her, but she also feels a strange obligation to be forgiving and to give him another chance. He is a wounded man, she thinks. He cannot help it that he has this fear of being abandoned. Maybe I can help him get over this. She justifies her behavior in this way, but in fact, she allows her personal boundaries to be violated. The relationship negatively affects her self-esteem. The most liberating choice for the woman would now be to break off the relationship and to go her own way without feelings of guilt. The pain and fear of the husband are not her responsibility. His pain and her sense of guilt have led to a destructive relationship. Their relationship was already emotionally charged because of another lifetime. The meaning of the renewed encounter is that the woman must learn to let things go without feelings of guilt, and that the man must learn to stand on his own feet emotionally. So the only real solution is to break off the relationship. The solution for the woman's karma is to let go of her sense of guilt once and for all. The mistake she made in her former lifetime was not that she abandoned her husband, but that she felt responsible for his suicide. The departure of his wife in this lifetime would confront the husband again with his own pain and fear, and it would offer him a new opportunity to face these emotions instead of escaping them. You may recognize a karmic encounter by the fact that the other person immediately feels strangely familiar to you. Quite often, there also is a mutual attraction, something compelling in the air which urges you to be together and to discover each other. If the opportunity is available, this strong attraction may grow into a love relationship or a heavy infatuation. The emotions you experience may be so overwhelming that you think you have met your twin soul. However, things are not as they seem. In such a relationship, there will always be problems which sooner or later will surface. Often the partners become involved in a psychological conflict that has power, control, and dependence as the main ingredients. By this, they repeat a tragedy which they subconsciously recognize from a former lifetime. In a past life, they could have been lovers, parent and child, boss and subordinate, or some other type of relationship, but always they touched a deeper inner pain in each other by acts of unfaithfulness, abuse of power, or by contrast, too strong an affection. There was a profound encounter between them which caused deep scars and emotional trauma. That is why the forces of attraction, as well as repulsion, can be so violent when they meet again in a new incarnation. The spiritual invitation to all souls who are energetically entangled in such a way is let each other go and become entities unto themselves, free and independent. Karmic relationships, as mentioned here, are almost never long-term, stable, loving relationships. They are destructive rather than healing relationships. Quite often, the basic purpose of the encounter is to succeed in letting each other go. This is something that could not be done in one or more past lifetimes. But now there is another opportunity to release each other in love. Oh boy, that actually, I did that consciously in my last relationship, the 28.5 year one. But in the first two, I really wasn't. I mean, I did a lot of standing around crying, why don't you love me the way I love you, right? Or at all. But there wasn't a lot of, yeah, I never didn't love them at all. So it's very interesting the way that talks about. And there was a release, but it wasn't on my part. So that's very interesting. I don't know. We'll see. If you find yourself in a relationship that is characterized by intense emotions, that evokes a lot of pain and grief, but from which you cannot break free, please realize that nothing obligates you to stay with the other person. Also, do realize that intense emotions more often refer to deep pain rather than to mutual love. The energy of love is essentially calm and peaceful, light-hearted and inspiring. It is not heavy, exhausting, and tragic. If a relationship gets these traits, it is time to let it go rather than, quote, work on it once again. Sometimes you convince yourselves that you have to stay together because you, quote, share karma, and you have to, quote, work things out together. You call upon the nature of karma as an argument for prolonging the relationship while you are both suffering immensely. In fact, you are distorting the concept of karma here. You do not work out karma together. Karma is an individual thing. The karma at stake in such relationships, as mentioned before, often requires that you let go completely, that you withdraw from such a relationship in order to experience that you are whole unto yourself. Again, resolving karma is something you do on your own. Another person may touch or trigger something inside you that creates a lot of drama between you, but it remains your sole task and challenge to deal with your own inner hurt, not with the other person's issues. You only have responsibility for yourself. This is important to realize because it is one of the main pitfalls in relationships. You are not responsible for your mate, and your mate is not responsible for you. The solution to your problems does not lie in the behavior of the other person. Sometimes you are so connected to the inner child of your partner, the emotionally hurt part inside, that you feel you are the one to, quote, rescue it. Been there, done that. Or your partner may be trying the same with you, but this is not going to work. You will be reinforcing emotions of powerlessness and victimhood in the other person, whereas it would be more helpful ultimately if you drew the line and stood up for yourself. It is your destination to be able to feel whole and complete entirely on your own. That is the most important condition for a truly fulfilling relationship. Healing relationships. There are healing and there are destructive relationships. A characteristic of healing relationships is that the partners respect each other as they are without trying to change each other. They take much pleasure in each other's company, but they do not feel uneasy, desperate, or lonely if the other person is not around. In this kind of relationship, you offer understanding, support, and encouragement to your loved one without trying to solve their problems. There is freedom and peace in the relationship. Of course, there may be misunderstandings now and then, but the emotions they bring up are short lived. Both partners are prepared to forgive. There is a heart connection between them as a result of which they will not take the other person's emotions or mistakes personally. Because it does not trigger a deeper layer of pain, they do not attach so much importance to it. Emotionally, both partners are independent. They draw their strength and well being not from the approval or the presence of their mate. He or she does not fill a gap in their lives, but adds something new and vital. In a healing relationship, partners may also know each other from one or more past lifetimes, but in these cases, there is hardly ever an emotional karmic burden such as described above. The two souls may have known each other in a past life in a way that was essentially encouraging and supporting. As friends, partners, or as parent and child, they have recognized each other as soulmates. This creates an impossible, I'm sorry, an indissoluble, in, indissoluble bond throughout several lives. I will give another example. A young man grows up in a poor family where somewhere in the Middle Ages. He is gentle and sensitive by nature, and he does not fit in very well with his surroundings. His family consists of hard-working, rather rough people who think little of his dreamy, unpractical nature. When he is grown up, he enters a monastery. He is not really happy here either, for life is tightly regulated and there is little human warmth or companionship among the people living there. There is, however, one man who is a bit different. It is a priest who has a higher rank, but who has no air of authority and who is truly interested in him. Now and then he inquires how things are going, and he allots him a few pleasant jobs like gardening. Each time they look at each other, there is a sense of recognition, something like-minded between them. There is a silent connection from the heart. Although they do not meet very often or speak much, the priest is a source of hope and encouragement for the young man. In a following lifetime, this man is a woman. Once again, she has a gentle and dreamy nature. She has difficulties standing up for herself. When she is an adult, she gets bogged down in a marriage with a man who is authoritarian and bossy. At first, she fell for his distinct, powerful charisma, but later on, she realizes how his dominance restricts and oppresses her. Nevertheless, she finds it very difficult to set herself free from him. At her work, she sometimes mentions the subject to a colleague, a somewhat older man. He encourages her to stand up for herself and to stay true to her own needs. Each time she speaks with him, she intuitively knows that he is right. Then, after a great deal of inner conflict, she divorces her husband. The contact with her colleague changes now. She feels affection for him. He turns out to be single. She feels so much at ease with him that it seems as if they have known each other for ages. They start a relationship which is affectionate, relaxed, and encouraging for both of them. The sympathy which was flowing between them in a former lifetime now takes shape as a fulfilling relationship as husband and wife. This is a healing relationship. The woman has taken an essential decision in leaving her husband and choosing for herself. With this, she has affirmed her emotional independence. This has created the basis for a loving, well balanced relationship with a congenial soul. Twin souls. At this point, I would like to say something about the concept of twin souls, probably familiar to all of you. The idea of twin souls exerts a deep attraction for you. However, it is potentially quite dangerous because it can be interpreted in such a way that it reinforces the birthing pain and emotional dependence in each of you rather than resolving it. This happens when you conceive of the concept of twin souls in such a way that there is another person who perfectly suits you and makes you whole. This is the concept of the twin soul as your other half. You then assume that the oneness and safety you are missing so deeply will be found in someone else who is the perfect match for you. According to this immature notion of twin souls, the souls are considered to be two halves who together make up a unity. Usually, the two halves are respectively male and female. So, this notion not only suggests that you are incomplete unto yourself, but also that you are essentially male or female. You can probably see that this notion of twin souls is not healthy or healing from a spiritual point of view. It makes you dependent on something outside of you. It denies the divine origin, which implies that you are everything, male and female, and that you are whole and complete unto yourself. It creates all kinds of illusions which bring you far away from home. And by home, quote, home, I mean your own self, the divinity of your I-ness. No soul is meant to be someone else's other half. Twin souls do exist, and they literally are what the word implies. They are twins. They are souls with the same, quote, feeling tone or vibration, or you could say with the same birthing time, as is the case with biological twins. The particular time of birth, this unique moment in time and place, makes for a uniquely charged feeling tone inside the souls that come to life. They are not dependent upon each other in any way. They are neither male nor female, but they are certainly tuned into each other as kindred spirits. I feel with all of me that that is the reason I got the word twin in my head as I held Lisa's hands for the first time in person. I never heard anything in my head before that. And I never really understood what the twin souls were. I wasn't buying the hype that was out there about them. It was just a puzzle piece I'd collected. But when I got that word in my own head, and I still couldn't understand it yet, I just allowed it to be. And now I feel like this is a perfect explanation of what that was, what I was sensing and feeling and hearing, obviously, in my head. What is the reason for the creation of twin souls? Why do they exist? You often think that the raison d'etre, I guess that's how you pronounce that, for something is the learning process it affects. But this is not the case with twin souls. The reason for the existence of twin souls is not to learn something. The aim is simply joy and creativity. Twin souls have no function within duality. You will meet your twin soul when you are transcending duality, which also made sense to me as to why Lisa and I are together now, right? To me, I don't really don't know how she feels about that. We've never really discussed that. Maybe I'll ask her about that. So you will meet your twin soul when you are transcending duality, when you identify yourself again with the God inside yourself who is whole and undivided and who is able to take any form or appearance. Twin souls meet again on their journey back home. Let us go back for a moment to the beginning of the journey. The moment you leave the state of oneness and become an individual, you enter duality. Suddenly, there is dark and light, great and small, sick and healthy, etc. Reality is split. You have no frame of reference anymore for who you really are. At first, you took your identity from, quote, being part of a whole. Now you are a single part torn loose from the whole, but without your conscious knowing someone accompanies you who is equal to you, who resembles you as closely as anything could. You took up, quote, the same space in the blanket of oneness, so near to each other that you didn't know you were two until you were born. What connects the two of you is something beyond duality, something that antedates the history of duality. This is hard to put into words properly because it defies your usual definitions of identity in which you are either one or two and cannot be both at the same time, which I think we are. I think we do. I actually feel like that's a real thing, and we'll all discover that for ourselves. Now you were both setting out on a journey, a long journey throughout many experiences. Both of you have experienced the extremes of duality to discover gradually that your essence does not lie in duality, but outside of it, in something which underlies it. As soon as you become deeply aware of this underlying oneness, your journey back begins. Little by little, you feel less attached to external things such as power, fame, money, or prestige. You understand more and more that the key is not what you experience, but how you experience it. You create your own happiness or misery by your state of awareness. You are discovering the power of your own consciousness. Once you have gone through all the highs and lows of duality, there will be a moment when you meet your twin soul. In the energy and appearance of your twin soul, you will recognize a very deep part of yourself, your essence beyond duality. And by this very recognition, you will start to understand yourself better and become aware of who you really are. Your twin is a frame of reference for you that carries you outside of the limited beliefs about yourself that you took in during your life and lifetimes before. You liberate yourself by seeing this reflection of you in your twin. It is like a reminder, and it has nothing to do with emotional dependence. Meeting each other helps each of you to be stronger and more self-aware individuals expressing your creativity and love on earth. And that's true. I would never stand in Lisa's way to do anything that she felt drawn to do. Why would I? That would be so silly. Or expect her to only do and think and be in the ways that I am. The whole idea is for each to have and gain experiences, right? Why in the world would any of us want to limit each other in that? It accelerates your return journey as it helps you step up to a higher level of oneness while fully retaining and expressing your I-ness, your unique individuality. Ultimately, we are all one. We are supported by an energy which is universal in all of us, but at the same time, there is individuality in all of us. The twin soul is to some extent the link between individuality and oneness. It is like a stepping stone to oneness. If you connect with your twin soul consciously and materially, you will bring about the creation of something new, a third energy that is born out of their combined action. That energy always helps to enhance unity awareness on a larger scale than just the two of them, which is why I feel like, well, not just Lisa and I, but anyone who, for me, I recognize all who step up, right? And we work together. Actually, I've met folks and I just know there's work for us to do together. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it will show itself. I have no idea what ramifications it would have as it ripples out, but I can sense it. I can feel it. That happened with Chris J from Journey Into It, who is also part of the New Light Streaming Love team. Definitely happened with Lisa. It's happened with many beings, some who were ready, some who were not, some who ran the other direction because they just weren't ready for all of whatever that entails for them, right? That energy always helps to enhance unity awareness on a larger scale than just the two of them because they are on their way home. Twin souls feel inspired to anchor the energies of love and oneness on earth, and they do so in such a way that accords with their own unique talents and skills. That's why if you feel drawn to do something, explore that, because that's where what that could lead to is that expansion that it speaks to there. In this manner, the twin soul love builds a stepping stone between being one, little b, little o, and being one, big O. There is a deep inner bond between twin souls that does not alter the fact that they are complete unities unto themselves. Their joining together brings about love and joy, and their meeting enhances creativity and self-realization. They support each other without falling into the pitfalls of emotional dependence or addiction. The love between twin souls is not meant to make each other whole, but to create something new instead of the two becoming one. The two shall become three. Healing the cosmic birthing pain. You will meet your twin soul at some point. Please let this knowledge be enough to you. Try not to dwell upon hopes and expectations that take you out of the here and now. What matters in this very moment is that you fully realize that the love and safety you deeply desire are present within yourself. And I do know that that is true. I feel so much more love inside of me than I ever have before. It's a whole different way of being, it feels. The key is to realize that this absolute self acceptance can never be given to you by anyone else, not even by your twin soul. Not only in love relationships, but also in parent child relationships, there is the temptation to find absolute oneness or safety in the other. Think of a parent who secretly wants his child to realize all the dreams that he did not fulfill, or a child who as a grown up still clings to her parents and considers them to be her absolute safe haven. It is important to become aware of the underlying dynamics and motives in your relationships and to heal them in the light of your consciousness. Your cosmic homesickness is not going to be healed by or in a relationship. This will be done by you alone, by the full realization of who you are, by realizing your light, beauty, and divinity. This is the destination of your journey. Also, you will not return to the state of oneness from whence you came. The quote, blanket of love from which you were born constituted your embryo stage. Now you are becoming mature gods. You will create a field of absolute safety and love from your own heart and allow others to share in this way without any conditions. That is the essence of God. Unconditional love that radiates, creates, and cherishes without any agenda, without any calculation. I would like to ask you now to be silent for a few moments and to truly feel your I-ness, your unique being unto yourself. If you are surrounded by people, then for a moment feel your I very strongly. Unconditionally, you are this part of God. It is not something that can be taken from you. It is an undeniable presence that is. And now, feel how this undeniable fact of your I-ness can be a source of joy and strength to you. Say yes to the miracle of your own being and embrace it. Yes, I am I. I am separate and unique, my own being. I may connect deeply with others, but also ever remain an I. You may think that behind this fact lies solitude and desolation, but please go beyond these thoughts and feel the power and vitality within you. If you really say yes to your individuality, you experience self-confidence and trust. On that basis, you will create loving relationships, and the solitude and desolation will dissolve. And I can attest to that for me personally. I mean, I went all the way over to almost taking myself off the planet. Talk about solitude and desolation. And it has dissolved. Wow. When feelings of loneliness and desolation overwhelm you, take the child within you on your lap. Notice the hurt in the child. It is longing for the total safety it once knew as an embryo. It wants to see that safety reflected in the face of your partner, in the face of your child, in the face of your mother or father, in the face of a therapist. Then show the child your face. You have the face of an angel for this child. Wow, that makes me want to cry. You are meant to heal this child in the most absolute way you can dream of. Neither I nor any quote master is able to do it for you. We can only show the direction. You yourselves are the saviors of yourself. Finally, I would like to invite you to feel our joining together for a moment, even if you are not present and you are reading this material. Yep, I can. Feel our connectedness. Do not focus on the I-ness now, but on our togetherness in a very free and easy way. Feel the energy. Feel what brings us together. It is a longing for a state of wholeness. Now imagine that we are surrounded by the most powerful energy there is, the energy of your awakened selves, the energy of the angel within you. Let us breathe in this energy and take a minute to deeply feel its presence. No, its power. Thank you for your presence. And that's the end of that one. Wow. Wow. That's the end of this chapter, and I will be back with the next one. And thank you all for tuning in. If you have not already subscribed, we'd love to have you do so. Share the entire playlist. If you want to share this, you can click on the playlist itself and share the playlist, or just share the preface first. And then if the being that you're sharing it with desires, then the videos will just roll over to the next as it goes, so that it can be listened to like an audio book. My hope for you is that you will move in every moment that presents itself to you towards that which brings you joy. It is a matter of perspective. And if you find you're not in a joyful perspective, take a few moments, take a few breaths, step out of that one perspective and into another. Look at it from a different angle, perhaps, and see if there's not something, another way that may bring you a higher amount of joy. Until we meet again, my friends, I hope that you will be well.